Hello, welcome to part 1 of Coding for Kids in Scratch. Today we're going to be going over chapter 1, which is all about everything on Scratch, how to navigate the Scratch homepage, and how to work with the Scratch editor. Before we get started, you're going to need to make a Scratch account. If you haven't already made one, go to chapter 0 and follow the steps there to make an account. Then go to the Scratch homepage and sign in, and you'll be brought to a page that looks something like this. This is also the Scratch homepage, but now that you've signed in, it looks a little different. So now what we're going to do is go over everything you'll find on the homepage and then everything you can do with Scratch. So on the homepage, the first thing you're going to see is this section called Welcome to Scratch. This is something curated by the people who made Scratch to help you understand Scratch, its features, and learn to code using Scratch. But this book is a little more in-depth and explains some concepts better, so you don't necessarily need to use this section, but you can feel free to explore it and see what they have to offer. The section to the right of that is Scratch News. Scratch News is essentially just a source of information about the different events that are going on in the Scratch community. Then, the rest of the homepage is just projects and studios from people who are just like you, who are just making projects, testing out their skills, and sharing something fun with the community. Then, the most important thing on this homepage is something we haven't yet gone over. It's this little navigation bar at the very top. This gives you access to everything you might need when you're using Scratch. Clicking on the Scratch logo at the left will bring you back to the home page, no matter if you're looking at someone else's project, making one of your own, or even exploring some of your own files and stuff. This will always bring you back to the home page so you can get a home base to work from. Then, Create will create and bring you to a brand new Scratch project for you to work on, make a new project, make some new code, and figure out how to use Scratch. Then, Explore will let you see the set of all public Scratch projects and sift through them and sort them. Then Ideas has all of the tutorials from Scratch, as well as project ideas for you to practice what we've been learning in the book. Then About will give you a little more information about Scratch and the people who made it. The search bar will let you search the set of all public projects and find something that you're interested in. This little mail icon will bring you to your messages, which is more like a notification system from Scratch. Then this little file folder will bring you to My Stuff, which lets you manage all your projects that you've made thus far. Lastly, clicking on your username with this little arrow to the right of it will bring up 4 more options. Profile, which will show you everything that is revealed about you and your account to the public. And then My Stuff will, like before, let you manage all your projects. Then Account Settings will let you manage and edit account details like your username, your password, your email, etc. Then Sign Out will obviously just sign you out of the website. So now we're going to go over everything you can do in Scratch. And to do that, we're going to make a new project, because this is where the heart of Scratch is, in projects, in what you create. So click the Create button to make a new project, and it's going to bring you to what is definitely the most important place in Scratch, the editor. This is your workspace. This is where you're going to put code together to make something happen. So let's get to know the editor a little better. At the very top, there's a new navigation bar that's slightly different than the one we saw when we were on the home page. At the left, you'll see this globe with lines on it, and this is where you can change the language if you want. Then, next to that, it says File. This is where you can save your project, and you can export and import your project, and you can also make a new project if you want. Then, in Edit, you can manage previous versions of the project using this Restore button. Then, in Tutorials, you'll see all the default Scratch tutorials. Then, by clicking where it says Untitled, you can change the name of the project to whatever you like. Then, by using the Share button, you can make the project public, meaning anyone who has access to Scratch can look for and find your project and use it as you want it to be used. Then, by clicking See Project Page, you can see what other people will see when they find your project. Then on the right, you have a file folder to go to My Stuff, and the same options as before when under your username. Now, let's get to know the editor itself. At the very right, with this white box with a cat in it, is your output box. This is called the stage, and that's what we're going to refer to it as for the rest of the book. Above the stage is this little green flag. That is your start button. When you click that green flag, your code will start running. Then, this little red octagon right next to the green flag is your stop button. Whenever something is running in the stage, you can stop it immediately, even if it's an infinite loop, by clicking the stop button. Now, let's look below the stage. Below the stage on the left, you have this section for sprites. Sprites are these little characters that execute the code that you write. Then, To the right of that, you have the section for backgrounds. Backgrounds are simple. They're just the image that goes behind your characters to make your project look a little better. Now, in the very center, you have this big white code area. And this code area is where you're going to be putting blocks and assembling them together to make your project. Then, to the left of that, you have your code storage. This is a storage of every block in Scratch sorted into different categories. You can get unlimited amounts of every block, and it can seem a little intimidating when you see there's so many categories and so many different blocks, and they all do different things. So it can be a little scary when you see all of that. However, for now, you don't have to worry about all of them. We're going to go through them slowly. So for now, let's only care about 4 of them. The first 4, almost. You have motion, looks, sound, and control. Motion is pretty self-explanatory. It controls the motion of the characters. You can control directly where in the stage it is, or you can control what direction it points, or you can control how it moves across the stage, or how fast or how slow, does it glide, does it take steps. You can manage all of that using the motion section. Then, the looks section is pretty self-explanatory as well. It changes how your project looks. It can create speech bubbles from each character. It can change how your characters look. You can do color changes, background changes, size changes. Basically, this section can be used to control what your project looks like. Then, sound is even simpler. Sound literally just controls any sound you want to play while the project is running. And this is quite simple because there's only a few blocks. You can change audio playback, manage pitch, and volume as well. But other than that, there's not much to do. So, sound is a very simple category to understand. Now, the most complex of these 4 major categories is control. Control is complicated because it gives you more advanced features that can let you either simplify your code, or more likely, it lets you do something more that you wouldn't have been able to do before. So the first block we're going to use from control is this wait block, because that's the simplest of all of them. And even though it seems simple, just waiting 1 second, it's something that can greatly improve your projects and the code that you put together. And the rest of the blocks we'll slowly cover as we learn more about coding and we get more comfortable with using Scratch to code. So the more we learn, the more blocks in control we'll use. And slowly we'll understand more and more about coding, about the control section, and we'll understand more about Scratch in general. So those 4 are the 4 major categories of Scratch, and they're all you really need to get started in making projects with Scratch. So why don't we get started? Let's make our first project with Scratch. So keep this project open, and let's move on to the next chapter.